recent years, Uganda has witnessed a transformative journey in the fight against gender-based violence. Some initiatives have broken the chains that bound many people, but not everything has worked. For the case of Fazila, not her real name, there was and still is pressure for her to marry the man who defiled her.
Omusajja kunkuba, omusajja kunsuza wabweru, kale tampa buyambi. Era ne bwemba ngenze wakati tasobola kwata transport nkyamukuwe. Sina mulimo gwenkola kubanga nali nasalawo ndeete katoo kange kanyambeko nfune omulimu ntandika okukola. Omusajja n'amugoba muto wange, n'amugoba n'agamba nze saagala wano omuntu mulala. Ne bwaba lumu n'aŋŋamba n'okuŋŋamba nti nze singa nali nina ejjambiya muno mu nnyumba nandikuttemi. We nazaala nansuza wabweru ng'omwana wawe ekisebbbiri ajja n'akufulumya ye naggalawo n'akusukasukira ebintu bye wabweru. Nensula ku lubalaza nali nina mukwano gwange n'aŋŋamba Silivia yingira mu nnyumba weebake kubanga omwana nga wa wiikisi bbiri n'aŋŋamba omwana tasobola kusula mu mpewo. Owulira era ekyo tesirikiseerabira naye ne bwe luba lugoye omwana bukyanga azaalibwa ne bwe luba lugoye ne bwe kiba ki tamugulira. Era ne bw'aba ampadde ssente ampe 3,000 oluusi nnyo abeera ayagala gundi balance. Bw'asanga ekimu bw'oddayo mugamba nti tezimaze agamba kimu nti nze saagala muntanjawula.
Fazila still lives in the same community here in one of the slums in Kampala, but she is not alone. According to the area councillor, the number of girls suffering a similar fate has drastically increased now. You can barely walk 100 meters here without finding a teenage mother.
Ensonga zensinze kulaba mu kitundu kino kusingira ddala mu kitundu kino ekyenkulembera ekyamasiro ku nsonga ezikwatagana amaka n'abaana. Ekisooka bwavu. Obwavu bweyongedde mu bantu, abasajja bakubonyaabonya bakyala ate nga bakyala tebasobola kujja kuloopa omwami kubanga wamuloopera obuzibu buba bweyongedde. Abakyala abamu tebalina baami baabwe, abamu bali mu makomera olw'ensonga KCCA. KCCA bwe bakwata nze nga nze mba sirina busobozi bugamba nti ngenda kumutaasa ono KCCA gwebekute wabula ogenda okulaba wayiseewo ennaku 2 omusajja n'akuba nti ndi luzira. Kati bwakomawo eno bizinesi gye baba bakute tedda omukyala takola, omwami bamutute mukomera, balina abaana dandirodde babanja ate balina okubaawo.
Uganda has committed to ending violence against women and girls, and this has translated into legal reforms. Stricter penalties and dedicated units were established to combat gender-based violence. But even with the laws on paper, access to justice for the victims like Fazila still remain a challenge as communities push them to settle these matters out of courts. The Center for Health, Human Rights and Development through their Legal Aid Clinic deals with these cases on a daily.
As we celebrate 15 days of activism, I want to applaud government that it may not be easy in terms of resources, but being intentional is already a very good step. And that's why for me this year's theme is partnered, invest. That term invest, we need to unpack it to the very core to ensure that while we are implementing laws or when we're developing laws, we have an implementation plan. We as a society actually create that environment where women and girls feel supported, feel protected when they are faced with the ugly monster called domestic violence.
But the violence now has shifted and is no longer just in person but also online. Predators are not only attacking women and girls in person but even on social media. Uganda has enacted various laws to try and curb this, like the Computer Misuse Act, But implementation remains a challenge, as some of the predators are not even in Uganda.
I feel like there is a misconception about gender-based violence. People think it is only physical. So when someone doesn't slap you, you think you are not undergoing gender-based violence. But it can also be emotional, it can be financial. Someone might be abusing you daily and it's affecting your mental health, but because they've not slapped you or kicked you, you actually don't know that you are undergoing violence. So women need to really go out there and report these cases.
But social media too has its silver lining. It is also a tool being used to disseminate information to women and girls about their rights. With X spaces and YouTube videos on the subject, and some bold victims speaking out and telling their stories on TikTok.
Social media has helped very many young women come out and report their abusers, because we always see victims coming out and sharing their stories. And whenever one person shares their story, we always see other people in the comment section encouraging them and telling them that they're not the only ones, and also suggesting places that they can report this violence.
The data that we normally share is the data from the Uganda Police Annual Crime Report. And according to the Police Annual Crime Report of last year, we had over 12,580 cases of defilement that were reported. Now, out of these cases, a number of them were able to go to court. We had over 4,000 going to court. We had over 7,000 that are still under inquiry. And then we had only 205 cases that received convictions. We also did a study called the Disrupting Harm Report together with UNICEF, which we launched in 2021, giving us a situational analysis of violence against children online.
Well, unfortunately, I don't feel that the police and law enforcers are doing enough, because from my experience and the people I've seen, most of the people who report get asked for bribes. So imagine you've run away from home, you've been abused, you go to police to report, and they're asking for 2,000, 10,000 to make a police report. So some of these women who are being abused are not very fortunate to have the money, so they end up not reporting these cases. And most of the times the abusers have the money, so even when they arrest the abusers, you find that these abusers have the money to bribe the police and run away. So most of the times the cases really go cold or don't get reported at all. So I really feel like there is a gap that they can work on to help us better.
When we commemorate this, 16 days of activism, we need to be questioning ourselves. Are we monitoring? Are we doing the right thing to ensure that there is justice, to ensure that there are preventive measures, to ensure that every woman or girl, irrespective of their socio-economic, political background, is able to actually access justice. From CEHAD's perspective, CEHAD's niche, the Center for Health, Human Rights and Development, is very intentional in promoting social justice in health, but it's also alive to the gender equality principles. And therefore, whatever we do, we put the woman's cry at the forefront. Where is the system failing the woman?